to welcome the speakers here this morning and acknowledge the superb work of those that you represent as we journey through COVID-19 and indeed before that also. Could I begin with Mr. Bell? You made a remark there that I find quite shocking, Mr. Bell, and you might elaborate on it, that SIP2 were forced to source PPE for their members. Can I ask you, were you reimbursed for that? And can I ask you, you also made comment that they're now receiving PPE, but there might well be an issue of quality. Could you just elaborate on that, please?
Well, at the beginning of this whole process, there was contradictory information given about the wearing of face masks. And we did find that there was a serious weakness in relation to the members we represent in community care. And we decided that we would support those members by trying to provide a limited number of face masks until that policy changed. The policy then did change with the HSE. In relation to the quality of PPE, this was an issue whereby the government were making it quite clear that PPE was being provided. There was ample amounts of PPE, but then it seemed that it did not pass the test that the Health Service Executive would have attributed to such equipment, and so some of that equipment could not be used. Now, over the last number of weeks, that issue has been, being addressed more and more. But again, some of the issue that we faced was on the basis of contradictory messaging or something happening in one region and not happening in another. Face mask was one of those issues.
So, Mr. Bell, you're saying it's being addressed, so it hasn't been completely addressed. So are you suggesting that there are some workers making use of PPE that is not of the standards that it should be?
At this stage, absolutely not. My understanding is that the HSE have managed to address that issue, but we just wanted to make it clear that not everything that we wanted to see happen did happen as fast as it should. We would have also seen serious gaps in the area, especially where members were working in residential settings like care homes, where there was difficulty in supplying PPE.
Thank you. And where there were gaps, you were obliged as the union to fill in. Thank you for that. I suppose just in relation to the two submissions that were made here, it's very clear that neither SIP2 nor the INMO were consulted regarding childcare provision. Mr. Bell, your members were not surveyed in relation to this survey that we've spoken of. The only survey I'm actually aware of that we can verify here is the one by the INMO. And Ms. Nihay, you've been reduced to seeking a whole series of freedom of information to try and gather really what has been happening and what I no doubt is proposed to happen going forward. I think that's an absolutely shocking indictment of where we stand currently. And could I ask you, in particular, Ms. Nihay, where stands the morale of your workers at this point in time? And I would like to make the comment as well, it has been made abundantly clear that 9 out of 10 nurses and midwives are women, and equally so the vast majority of healthcare workers are women. And one wonders, if 9 out of 10 of the workers were actually male with childcare responsibilities, would we find ourselves in the position that we currently find ourselves? But specifically, Ms. Nihay, if you could address the question of morale within your membership.
I think it's fair to say, Deputy, and thank you for the question, that the morale is, what has happened during COVID-19 is our members have felt extraordinarily proud of their contribution, and they have stood very tall in respect of suddenly an understanding in general terms about the massive contribution that they make. So from the point of view of morale in that respect, I think it's fair to say that they report that they feel extraordinarily proud of their achievement. Remember, if you look at the stats in this country, it isn't a coincidence that the numbers of people who recovered and walked out of ICUs happened. That was because they got excellent nursing care. That is because they were nursed prone, which is recommended. That takes a lot of work and a lot of concentrated clinical judgment and clinical expertise to ensure that that happens. And I, as a representative of nurses and midwives, am extraordinarily proud of the numbers when I report them internationally, because the numbers of citizens and people who live in this country who recovered from COVID-19 is absolutely remarkable. It's exceptional. Now, what they say at the same time is, we're very proud, we know how to do our job, we do it well, we do it to the best of our ability. But what they are not proud of is the manner in which they were treated from the point of view of childcare particularly, but also from an infection. Why is this state resisting the involvement of the Health and Safety Authority in examining why the infection rates were so high? That's a question they pose to us on a regular basis. And they believe that maybe there's nothing underneath it, but they believe that it is a matter that has to be examined from an independent point of view. And this committee, we would say, should have a say in that and should insist upon it.
Thank you, Ms Nihay, and thank you, Deputy Foley.